We are underway for the Mexican Grand Prix. It's a good start for Williams driver. I think it's a lobby restart with all these guys crushed out, so my apologies about that one. I didn't know, but yeah, we'll be back with you for the lobby restart. We're here in Mexico City at iconic Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the 36 laps of highest to drama at over 2,200 meters above sea level. This is the thinnest air on the calendar. Engines gas progress, cooling becomes a nightmare issue, and downforce feels weaker than ever around this circuit. It's a true test of driver skill and a car setup. And after a qualifying session, it was Evan I on pole in the Williams, setting a 26.618, just under a tenth clear of Oscar in the Haas. The Gavacci finished in P3 with Williams cars inside the top three, both of them with Azam in P4 and the Mercedes right on their tail. Behind them, we've got Haas, Alpine and Aston Martin all in the mix, and we hope for a good race around here in Mexico. We've got 36 laps to race for us. It's time to go race to Mexico, and I think it could be a two-stop strategy around here in Mexico, depending. I think the one-stop could be a little bit of a stretch from mediums to hard, so I'm not quite sure if the Mini Cup, if that one-stop strategy is quite possible around here, but if anyone does make it, it'd be an absolute miracle. Qualifying, well, it's very important, but at the same time, though, do you want to start pole position around here in Mexico, down towards turn one? Drivers tend to get swamped going down in towards turn one. Who was it who took pole back in 2021? It was Hamilton, wasn't it? Then he got swamped by Verstappen going down towards turn one. Around the outside too, as pole sometimes may not be the best place to start around here because it's 800 meters down towards turn one, 0.5 miles, sorry, going down in towards the first corner. Remember 2017 when we saw Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel made contact going towards turn 2 and turn 3. Hamilton won his fourth championship. Yeah, it was his fourth championship in 2017, whilst Verstappen won the race. And Verstappen is quite a handy driver around here in Mexico. Won in 2017, 2018, I believe in 2022, 3 and not 4 because Carlos Sainz won in 2024, and also 2021 as well, where Verstappen took the victory. Hamilton won the race in 2019, I think, because both Ferraris had a bit of a pit stop blunder, strategy blunder, didn't they? They were 1-2 with Vettel and Leclerc, but Hamilton had his own problems in the midfield and fell backwards in the race, but still went on to win the Grand Prix. And we had a long hiatus, didn't we? The last Mexican Grand Prix was about 1986, and that was the last time we had a race in Mexico, and 1992, sorry. Then after that, the track condition became bumpier, conditions were worsened, and the city pollution as well, and financial problems led to its removal from the calendar, but it returned on the F1 calendar back in 2015, and that's when we saw Nico Rosberg take the victory for his return back in 2015 with Hamilton in second place and Sebastian Vettel in third. Mexico sometimes can produce a good race, but on the majority side of it, it can be a bit boring because obviously the sea level about 2,200 meters, which means that it's super difficult for the engine to breathe, being so hot, and that's why it's quite difficult to go overtake down towards turn one, despite a massive DRS zone going down towards turn one. Remember Daniel Ricciardo. I hope you guys can hear me on the stream. Let me just test my volume because obviously I haven't been speaking in qualifying, so let me just test my volume real quick. Yeah, the volume seems perfect, so I was just a bit nervous because obviously I wasn't speaking during qualifying as I had personal issues, but hopefully I'll be alright now and I can get going. Apologies about qualifying too. I had, for some reason, internet connection issues. I don't know why, but it started to occur recently, so I really hope that we don't have any sort of interruptions during the race. Well, here we go then for the lights out. Yeah, your question's answered, Smeg. It's an 800-meter run down in towards turn one, and the lights are underway. They're the top two getting away evenly. Evan I versus Oscar. And let's see what happens going down in towards turn one. Evan I will get behind a massive slipstream for all the guys who are behind. Here comes the Haasman, pulls to the left-hand side as we head down in towards turn one. Evan I maintains the lead, but the Williams is on the attack on the Haas as we head through turn two and turn three. Mercedes and the Haas are side by side. Tony first Garochi for P4, and he falls down a few places too. Tony stays in P4 for the time being in the Haas, but here comes Azam in behind him in the Mercedes as we head down towards the break. Concern a bit of lag there, unfortunately. Apologies about that one, but the side-by-side as contact is made. It's a late lunge, and here comes the Haas. It might be 2 for 1 as we 3 abreast in towards turn 6 and turn 7 as they all fight out just off for position there. Sorry about the camera angle as the Mercedes just stays ahead for the time being. It's just so important not to break the DRS around here, because if you do that and a few cars go off the track there as well for good measure as they fight start for the first lap of this race. But so far it is Evanai who leads this Grand Prix ahead of Oscar in second place, as Azam's in P3 ahead of Tony Richer, Garochi in P5 ahead of Jaquita in 6th, and Nico in P7, Monza P8 ahead of Sieb, and Schumacher rounds off the top 10 with Bob Pierre just behind him in the racing ball. We round off the first lap, and Evanai, despite being on pole, is still in the lead of the Grand Prix, being hunted down by Oscar and the guys right behind too. DRS will be enabled on this lap as we head down in towards turn 1 we go. But obviously he's not going to make a move just yet. Second lap of the Grand Prix, DRS will be enabled as we head down towards the first corner. Tony looking for a move on the inside, but just a bit too far back as we far through turn 1 and turn 2 and turn 3. What a massive contrast it was from qualifying to the race. We saw the wet conditions infiltrate the circuit. It was Q1, Q2 and Q3 where we saw all the drivers struggling and desperate for grip, especially in the final corner. My TV's about to turn off. Hold on for a second. Hopefully that don't turn off because the stream will end. There we go then. So wasn't quite prepared, but I am right now. As we see, Maxime is ahead of Bob Pierre, and that is out of the double right-hander we go. Looks like the RB has, the Red Bull gets the better of the RB as he puts himself up into another place ahead of IRT Bob Pierre, who struggled to qualify and got knocked out in Q2, as Tony already in this Grand Prix has picked up a 3-second time penalty already on lap 2. And Schumacher making moves, making ground. He's up into P9 ahead of Seat there. So Schumacher there gets ahead, and that could have been with the assist of DRS going down in towards turn number 12, I think it is, because I haven't got the track map up. That's how much I've came unprepared. So I do apologise. I got brought in at the very last minute, so I have no idea. This is my first time here. You want me to go back up more with Tony? But this is my first time commentating for this league, and I got brought in about 30 minutes before, so I literally have no idea. Look at that, so close going down in towards turn 1 there. Tony already has a track limit in this race, which could be detriment to his race later on in the Grand Prix as well. Already picking up a 3-second penalty at the early stages of this Grand Prix as we round on board with the guys at the front of the field as we head down towards the slow speed corners at turn 4, turn 5 and turn 6. It is a bit laggy unfortunately, so hopefully it don't affect us too. But White Sheep gets ahead of Lucas. He puts himself up into P12 and slots in behind his teammate Maxime, but the gap has been broken down already as Bob Pierre looks like he's struggling in the midfield there, and he's been swamped by the Kick Saber as he goes up the inside towards turn 8, but that's not a place you really want to go side by side unfortunately, as he stays behind for the time being then. Damn Smeg, you don't ask for much, do you? I literally got brought in and you're asking for a lot. No, I'm only kidding. But here we go then towards the stadium section when we saw Max Verstappen overtake Bottas going down there in towards in 2019 when he got a puncher as well, as Bob Pierre gets a 3-second penalty, which replicates that he's really struggling for traction and grip around here as well, and it's so difficult. This track is punishing, and in the dirty and hot air with all the engines overheated too, as here we go on the main straight headed down in towards turn 1, but all the guys stay in single file for the time being. No moves being made in towards turn 1, as every single driver is hot on the heels of the car ahead as well, looking for that perfect opportunity window to overtake the guys ahead. As here we go, going down towards turn number 4 we go. Is all down the inside goes the Haas. It's a late move. There's contact involved. Looks like Tony stays in P4 there, trying to go for a dive bomb, but unfortunately couldn't quite pay it off. Trying to get the Haas up into P3, but still can't make it. That was super aggressive on the brakes there, but unfortunately he could not make it as he stays behind for the time being. He's been very aggressive in the Grand Prix, trying to be audacious, but he does have that 3-second penalty. I think he's helping Oscar in P2 there, trying to help him for the lead of the Grand Prix and be essentially the rear gunner to him as well, as he does have a penalty in this race as we head towards the stadium section. There we go, towards the final few corners once again on board with Evanai, Oscar, Azam and Tony in P4. He made an aggressive dive bomb up the inside of turn 4 with Bottas and Kimi Räikkönen crashed in 2015. DRS wide open for all these guys once again. Here comes the Haas of Oscar, and here comes Mercedes then as we head down in towards turn 1. Is Oscar going to go for the move in towards 1? He's thinking about it. But here comes Mercedes around the outside in towards turn 1. Has the inside for turn 2, but Oscar stays around the outside there and has the inside for 3. So Azam couldn't make the move stick as we have the DRS wide open once again as we head down in towards turn 4 we go. But no moves being made so far. Here comes the Williams thinking about a move up the inside in towards turn 4, but couldn't make it stick. as Paulos in 80th place there, pitted a few laps ago, and he's on the hardcore powered tyre, so didn't see what happened to him in the early stages of the Grand Prix as we fast through this twisty middle sector. It is so easy to lose the rear end of the car through this middle sector here because the car's on the edge. It stands on the edge at all times with the low downforce setup you need as well. And sometimes you've got to sacrifice your wing to compensate for the straight line speed in this race as well. I've driven this track, and for me, it's not really a good track, unfortunately, because the low grip surface does not help at all. Plus, being on a pad 2 and having low downforce, it's just super difficult. It'll pay dividends for the race as well. You don't want too much wing on the cars here because you don't have the straight line speed going down towards the long back straight in towards turn 1. Here we go with the DRS wide open again, and here comes the Mercedes looking for a move, but it's a bit too far back on this occasion. Oh, massive wobble on that, but that is a bit of lag, so you don't have to worry there as we see these guys lagging. And Nico has dropped down the order in towards turn 1, and we go back on board to see what happens going in towards turn 4. So I didn't see what happened to Nico there, and he's lost his end plate too for good measure. Unfortunately, there is a bit of lag, so I do apologise about this. And it is, to be honest with you, it is me, because for some reason my broadband in the last few days has been absolutely terrible. I'm going to say another word, but obviously I don't want to swear on stream. It's been absolutely terrible the last few days. I'm not quite sure why, so I do need to get it sorted out. And I do apologise once again to the guys watching back. I'll try my absolute best to get it fixed, but nothing doing so far. So you have to live with it. Every single driver on the mini-car powered tyres, the top 16 except the last 2, who pitted onto the new set of hardcore powered tyres. Bob Pierre is struggling, whereas his teammate Sieb is up into P9 inside the top 10. Schumacher made gains by 2 places. Up into 8th place he goes. And here we go on a long back straight once again as Maxime has dropped down the order. He's in the pit lane. That's a very early pit stop there for Maxime. Probably looking for an undercut on the guys ahead as he's stuck in that DRS train as we head down towards turn 1 again. But as you can see, this is the usual common DRS change you see in league racing. Nobody can get past each other. It's all about the guys at the front, isn't it? But is the Mercedes close enough to have a lunge up the inside of Oscar going in towards turn 4? He's too far back, but he does tap the back of the Haas there, going in towards 4 and 5, letting him know that he's right there in his mirrors. And in the background, it seems that Gavocci in P5 is struggling to stay within DRS range of Tony in front of him. The gap is about 0.8 of a second. You don't want to break that lucrative 1 second gap, because if you do, it's going to be such a difficult task to get yourself back in there too. So I think the Williams driver is struggling just for a bit of pace. Is that tyres overheated? Is that tyre wear just kicking in for the Williams driver there in P5? But he's clawed the gap back down there, and it's 0.5 of a second. And it does help sometimes as well in the slow speed corners, because every single driver is bunched up in the slow speed corners in the dirty wake of each other. So the engine's hot, it's overheated as well as we head down towards the main straight once again. Evan I still leads on Oscar in P2. These guys played a long game here. Oscar is defending for all of his might. He's not going for a move. He's being calculated. He's being methodical as we head down towards turn 1. You can clearly see the long-term game for Oscar as well, keeping the Mercedes driver at bay whilst having Evan I in front of him, which is the perfect scenario for his race as well. Just using Evan I for DRS whilst keeping the guys behind too. We know the Mercedes driver is in a Haas sandwich, so he might be impatient here and willing to get past at any single chance he's given in this race. It must be so frustrating, because it is so frustrating being stuck in that DRS train, because you literally cannot move forwards. It's all about the guys at the front who control this race. That's why qualifying in F1 League racing these days is so important. Every single track, including Monaco. But yeah, qualifying is literally how the race is set up as well, because it's just so difficult. I miss the old days where you could just easily overtake, not easily overtake, but get past your rivals without being stuck in a DRS train all the time. But that's the way the F1 games are built these days, to be stuck in the DRS train, follow each other, and can't get past. So Evan I still leads this Grand Prix, but we know Oscar, and Evan I does pit. The Norwegian is in the pit lane, followed by the Mercedes and the Oscar as well. Or Oscar, sorry, not Oscar, the other Haas who's in the pit lane. That is Tony, who has pitted. So Oscar opted to stay out there in first place. The gap is 1.3 as Monza in the Aston Martin is right behind in the Aston. right behind the Alpine, sorry. But not making the move just yet, going down towards turn 1. So lap 9 out of 36, these guys are pitted on the hardcore power tyres. Obviously, it's going to be a two-stop strategy. Nobody can make those hards go towards the end. These guys are doing medium hard, so the choke stream could end anytime soon. We did see it qualifying when the stream ended, so if it does go, I apologise profusely. I do need to get this sorted out. So don't be surprised if I disappear for any reason. But Oscar has broke the DRS, of course, so the gap is 1.6 seconds and can break away from the second Williams in second place there. And I wonder if Oscar might pick this lap to respond to the undercut threat. He's got to, unless, of course, he might be going for a better offset stint on the hardcore powered tyres. Let's see if Oscar does respond. He doesn't. He stays out there whilst the other people pit. So here comes Garocci, here comes the Aston Martin or Monza, who are in the pit lane, followed by the rest of the drivers. As Chiquita and Oscar have opted to stay out there. So let's see the gap to leader to see if the guys might get the undercut. What is the pit stop deficit around here? What is the pit lane loss? I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you, about over 20 seconds for sure. But I think that the guys behind who are pitted will definitely get the jump on Oscar because the undercut is so powerful around here. Evan I will definitely get ahead of Oscar, but Oscar will have better tyres towards his first on the hardcore powered tyres. As we've got the rest of the guys in the background that's just feeding out there, as we see the Mercedes and the Sauber go side by side in towards turn 1. Lifeboat versus Matisse. Wheel to wheel through turn 1 to turn 2 and turn 3. Oh! It's a bit of 3/10 out of Oscar. As we ride on board with Oscar, he stays out once again in the Haas. The gap's gone down to 17.7 seconds there between Evan I and himself, Oscar. I don't know why, but I stream like almost every day. Not almost every day, but every few days. PSGL and other leagues, etc. But for some reason, my internet wants to kill itself, and I do apologise. My internet is always better than this. Ask Troy, ask anybody. But unfortunately for today and the last few days, it's just been so dodgy. So I do apologise. My internet's not this bad. But I will get a better connection soon, so hopefully this don't happen again. But the Oscar there just staying out a few more laps, so he's rather comfortable to sit there in P1 and just eke out those lap times in first place. But the gap's going down quite rapidly too. But when he puts on the hardcore powered tyres, let's see where he'll rejoin. Maybe around maybe Tony and Garocci's area. So just extending the midi-car powered tyres there in first place as we head towards stadium section. How long is Oscar decided to stay out there in first place? Oscar is staying out once more in the Haas, not pitting just yet, as Chiquita, Schumacher and Sem in third and fourth are still going on the midi-car powered tyres. You don't think it's a one-stop strategy, do you, from these guys? Surely not. Like, if they make a one-stop strategy work, then I think that it's going to be beneficial for their race. But how long can they go on the midi-car powered tyres for? Thank you, Ninja. I appreciate it. But bear in mind, guys, this is my first ever time in this league. I got brought in about minutes before, so I literally have no information about anybody in this league or what's going on. I know what happens in the chat again about the stream. You may recognise me from different leagues, etc. Lap 12 out of 36. The gap between Chiquita and Oscar is 3.2 seconds. Evan I, the gap's down to 15.2. Do you know what? I've seen a few people make a one-stop strategy happen before. Their time management is absolutely phenomenal if they can make the one-stop strategy work. And if they can, fair dues to them. But Shazoo are leading by 242 points ahead of ETA Esports in second place by 205. So Shazoo of Oscar is still in first place, or Shazoo see these Igniters. Of course, Shazoo have got a brand new name as Siemens picked up a 3-second penalty in the Grand Prix. 1/3 in towards this race, and Oscar's still out there on the midi-car powered tyres. So is Chiquita, Schumacher, and Sam. There's a Red Bull with a broken end plate, and for some reason I don't have the. There we go. White Sheep has got a broken end plate as we go on the main straight once again. And Evan I, followed by a pack of cars right behind Maxime and the Mercedes, and Tony right behind too for good measure, all stuck in that DRS train as we head down in towards turn 1. But of course, no moves being made on this occasion with all these guys just bunched up in that DRS there, fighting through turn 2 and turn 3. Of course, you remember you get one There's one detection point for 2 DRS zones like Canada as well. Only one detection point for 2 DRS zones and Hungary as we head down towards turn 4. There's Mercedes up the inside. Can he make it stick? A late lunge, but no con as we go wheel to wheel in towards 5 and 6 we go. The Red Bull just stays ahead for the time being though. What's the gap between Evan and Oscar? About 12.8 seconds. Surely Oscar's going to do a one-stop strategy. It's not... it'd be silly to do the two-stop now because it's a bit too late possibly to do the two-stop strategy as we see the Red Bull go off the track at turn 11 there. Very easy to do so as well, rather than a high speed. And Chalmers is just waiting for you on the outside to punish you at any given moment. I was expecting a bit more penalties in this race, as Sem has pitted, I think, in the Ferrari. No, he's not. He's about to be overtaken by the Williams. The Williams goes through up into P4 with the DRS wide open and blasts past the Ferrari. Those two Ferraris are still going for a longer stint. As in the background, here comes the Williams up the inside of Tony, but not able to make the move. Slight contact going in towards turn 1 and turn 2, but Tony stays ahead for the time being and gets another dose of DRS on this short straight. Headed in towards turn 3 we go. Another 90-degree left-hander we go. The Red Bull goes around the outside and has the inside line for the next corner and gets ahead. And here comes Mercedes. He goes through. And that's a nice, easy move then. Here comes the Haas. He's desperate to go through too. And Seb has been absolutely swamped by the guys behind on new tyres. And here comes the Williams of Garochi around the outside of Sem. Poor Sem. He's got demoted down by a few places in the space of a few corners. By 8 corners, he got demoted down from 4 to 8. But the Aston Martin's gone for a spin in the middle sector. That's Monza, who has spun the car. And Schumacher has dropped the car. Schumacher spun. And I think he's got a puncher. He has. Schumacher has picked up a left rear puncher as Oscar is in the pit lane. How close was he to a puncher territory? As here comes Jaquita in the pit lane too. Schumacher. So both Ferraris have gone for a spin, unfortunately, as they drop down the order dramatically. Sem, for some reason, is staying out there. But where is Oscar going to feed in to this pack? As we see that Maxime and the Mercedes go through up into P2 and P3, but here comes Oscar. Where is he? He has rejoined behind Matisse and Lifebout, and he's ahead of Monza as we head through turn 1 and turn 2 and turn 3. So how far away is he? He is about 11 seconds away from Lifebout as Tony and the Red Bull go side by side in towards the slow speed corners again. Tony's got his overalls out for the whole race. And now he's up into P3 ahead of the Red Bull driver with the Williams just behind on younger tyres in comparison to Maxime. Maxime pitted quite a few laps ago, but I wonder he might have to do a two-slot strategy because his tyres won't make it towards the Grand Prix, and if they do, they'll be hanging off a cliff there. And Lifebout and Monza gets a 3-second penalty as well for good measure in their race. Very easy in the Grand Prix in this difficult race to pick up penalties. Concentration at high, 36 laps of racing is just so difficult mentally and physically. Well, not physically, but mentally as well, to pick up penalties in this race. What's happened behind us? Oscar's got ahead of Lifebout. And who else? Sem is in the pit lane finally to get rid of his mini compound tyres. Oh, Monza just sped in the pit lane and has retired, but back towards the front. Here comes the Mercedes on Evanai. He goes up into first place, and Maxime gets back ahead of the Haas driver. That's not good news for his progress because he wants to focus on Evanai and Azum in first place, but he's been stuck behind the Red Bull now for quite a few laps, and he's getting ever so frustrated behind the Red Bull too. He's able to dispatch it, but here comes Williams now up the inside and towards turn 3. Contact is made between those two. Very aggressive, very abrupt going down in towards turn 4. But luckily, neither driver has got any sort of footwing damage. Both Ferraris in 15th and 16th after a difficult race for them. Well, I say difficult. They went too long on the mini compound tyres and pay the consequences for that. There is 20 laps left to go in the Grand Prix. Oscar is P8 on the Branislav hard compound tyres. You've got to assume he's going for a one-stop, surely. Is there any point of him doing a two-stop? I don't think so, because he won't have enough laps, will he, to make up the deficit towards the Grand Prix. He's got to push. If it is a two-stop strategy, he's got to push like a rocket. Every single lap that goes by. What's the gap to leader right now between himself? It is 8.3 seconds, so not too far behind, but we probably know that Maxime, Tony, Evanai, Azum will probably have to convert to a two-stop strategy because their tyres will not make the distance. But here comes Tony once again, and the Red Bull driver been so frustrated, and the Williams Evernay is being patient behind the Mercedes driver of Azam, not going for the move just yet. But they've broken the DRS away from Tony. It was a massive DRS train in the first stint between all these drivers, but they've been split up and separated. And there has been a little bit of a field spread as well between each driver. As we see in the background, that is the kick Saubers started out for P6 and P7. I believe, yeah, they both got knocked out in Q2. Or Q1 for Lucas's case, and now he's up into P6, so good progress there as the two RP drivers swap places, Chiquita and Nico. We saw Nico spin early in the Grand Prix, and Maxime as well. Great job to Maxime up into P4. That's the power of the undercut. He went for an early pit stop in the first part of the Grand Prix, and then he's now on the older compound tyres, which means he might have to suffer. Who's that in the background got off? It's nobody because it is lag, so my apologies once again. As we fire through now the stadium session again, sorry, the comments have popped in all at once. I'm not quite sure why it's done that, but as we exit the final few corners, we're on lap 18 out of 36. We're halfway in towards this Grand Prix. The gap between Oscar and Azam is 8 seconds between those two, 6.9 now. It's gone down quite a lot. He's stuck behind the kick-start, but here comes the Williams now on the Mercedes, and he puts himself up to first place. That's quite a wise thing to do between Evernay and Azam. They might as well work together and trade DRS every single straight to try and catapult themselves up the order. Here comes Oscar on 2 kick Saubers. That's a very easy move there. And Oscar goes up into P6 ahead. A White Sheep has retired in the Grand Prix, unfortunately. He is out of this race. That's 2 retirements in this race. Oh, sorry about that. My apologies. So Oscar is on the younger tyres. I assume he's going for a one-stop strategy, whilst the rest could be going for that 2-stop strategy as well. But Tony's pushing so hard to get himself back in DRS range, and he's broken the gap between himself and Maxime. He was stuck behind the Red Bull for such a long time, and now he's overtaken him, dispatched him, and he's catching those two at a rate of knots. So he spent a long time being stuck behind them, and now he's demonstrated what he could do in clean air and trying to catch after Azam and Evernay for first and second place. Is it not a one-stop? I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. I did a 2-stop because I am terrible in this game and the tyre wear is too high for me. So, but surely not a 1-stop, you don't think, for the guys in first, second, and third place. What, we've got like 18 laps left to go, 28 laps of the hardcore pod tyres. I'm not quite sure between these guys. Azam now goes up to first place, back ahead, and in the background here comes Williams up the inside in towards turn 1, the braking zone. Maxime's defenceless, he can't reduct that, and unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately, Garucci's up into P4 and ahead of the Red Bull driver. Valiant effort there from the Red Bull, who started at the back of the field in, what, 15th place? Or 14th, sorry? Now he's up into P5. His strategy has worked to a certain extent, but of course he's on the old hardcore power tyres, older hardcore power tyres, so he maybe started to struggle later on the Grand Prix with tyre wear on a knife edge. But Tony has had tremendous pace of the whole race. He's been ever so aggressive, has Tony, in the Haas, but unfortunately picked up that 3-second penalty early in the Grand Prix. It was like lap 3 when he picked up that penalty in the race, and it's cost him ever since. It'll cost him dearly towards the end too. And where is Oscar? Oscar's 4.5. He's catching these guys at a rate of knots, so it won't be long since Oscar will be on the back of these guys. He's right to the background of our shot there. Only Oscar and the Alpines are on a one-stop strategy. Yeah, I agree with that one, for sure. Because they've gone out for a long time. Here we go then, the Haas gets ahead. He puts himself up into P2 ahead of the Williams driver Evernay. The pole sitter gets demoted into P3. The pole sitter's been leading the Grand Prix for such a long time, but the first round of pit stops has demoted him. And now Azam's up into first place ahead of the Mercedes. And Tony out of DRS range there against the Mercedes. So the Mercedes has checked out a little bit as well against the Haas. Can he break free and out of the DRS range of Tony Richet in a second place there? Schumacher does get a 3-second time penalty in the Grand Prix. 16 drivers still remain. The pit lane loss is, I have no idea. It shouldn't be too big, but it is quite significant, I think, in terms of the Grand Prix. If you have amazing tyre wear, then ideally you want to do... It's just about tyre wear, how good you are with degraded tyres. How long you can make them last, and depends if you still can have some stable pace as well. because sometimes when the tyres get old for some drivers, they start to wear out too much. They don't have the grip, the pace anymore. They just fall backwards like a stone. Literally have no grip anymore. Lifebelt has a 3-second time penalty. There is 15 laps left to go, and Oscar's just behind us, and he gets ahead of the Red Bull driver. He's up into P5, and he's on a charge to take the lead of the Grand Prix very soon in this race. And the Ferrari's gone for a little bit of a spin as well, or something's happened to him. He's just rejoined in 60th place there, has Schumacher, so I think he just pitted again. But Oscar's time management has been absolutely supreme in this Grand Prix. Elite driving there from Oscar, and he's the championship leader elsewhere in different leagues as well, if I don't want to mention it here, if I'm not allowed to, of course. But Oscar has done a relatively good job in different leagues, and this one too. He's been super quick, and that's why SCI are currently first place in the championship, with Tony as well in second place there. And I know that Shazoo converted with CPI Esports merged together to create CSI. VNT, however, third place and fourth place, still looking for a podium. They know that Tony Richet, second place, has got a penalty, but Tony has got some good pace, you know, still. He's in the DRS range of Azum. It's a massive shame he picked up that penalty early in the Grand Prix. And now the Williams has pitted. Evanite is in the pit lane, and so is Maxime too. Expecting Maxime to pit anytime soon because his tyres were dropping off dramatically. And here comes Oscar on the other Williams, and he puts himself up into P3 ahead of Garochi for P4. So I think the top two will definitely have to pit again to get rid of the hardcore power tyres and put on a new set of hards towards the end of this race. Maybe not. We're about to find out. But we know Oscar is in the sweet spot in the house in third place. Just had raw, relentless pace, whilst his teammate puts the pressure on the Mercedes in front of us as we head in towards the double. How did we go? It looks like Oscar is the favourite driver to win this Mexican Grand Prix. What a Mexican Grand Prix as well, because I wasn't supposed to commentate, but I decided to because I thought it was a favour for Troy A. But yeah, I'm glad I commentated, although it was a bit of a messy. Enjoy the Grand Prix, and it's not been too bad at all. Maybe. Sorry about that. I do apologise once again. It is so frustrating, I know it is, but unfortunately we'll have to deal with it. So Lifebar is on the Grand Prix. He has retired from this race. And yeah, it's very frustrating, unfortunately. So let's see. Steve's pitted once again, and Lucas is pitted too. Matthias is in the pit lane a lap ago. Sam is still on the old hardcore power tyres. Chiquita's up into P2. He's going for that one-star strategy as he was following Oscar the first stint. So we don't expect him to pit once again, but he's being chased after Azum and Tony Richet. The gap is 11.8. So in 12 laps, 10 laps, or 11 laps, can they bring down a 11.7 gap towards the LP driver? Chiquita's gone under the radar, I dare say. His pace has been quite good too. So a great drive under the radar race for Chiquita in second place. Where's his teammate? He was His teammate was right with him, but Nico, remember, he spun early in the Grand Prix. He's done a P12, so the only race for him is in P12 there, whilst his teammate is on the podium. But here comes the Haas, Manatoni, looking for a move, but stays behind. The Mercedes goes defensive though, so compromise gliding towards turn 1, whilst the other guy, the other Williams, is fighting with Maxime, goes up into P6 there on the newer mid-hardcore power tyre. As we head down in towards turn 4 once again with the Haas and the Mercedes. Can the Mercedes of Azum catch Chiquita? The gap's about 11 seconds, so maybe a second every lap for Azum to catch Chiquita for second place. But he does have Tony and Evanai right behind too at the rear. Good for him every single lap, and so is the Williams behind as well. Garochi, both Williams are P5 and P6. VNT, I think, currently are they second in the championship? Let me just have a quick look to see if they are second in the championship. Of course, it's not a driver's championship, it's a team championship. No, they're third behind ETA Esports. So ETA Esports 205, Ventalia Esports 131. As we watch these guys around the final quarter, there's 10 laps left to go in the Grand Prix. The gap's gone down to 9.8, so they are gaining, but will it be enough to catch the likes of Chiquita? Oscar's out of the equation, I dare say. Oscar cannot be beaten. He's driven a superb race, a controlled, well-mannered, executed race for Oscar, whilst his teammate Tony is still embroiled in this battle for P3. He's been stuck behind the Mercedes ever since. If he didn't get that penalty, and what could there be for Tony? He picked it up very early in the Grand Prix, a 3-second time penalty on lap 3 and 4. It was super early in the Grand Prix, and that's cost him dearly ever since as well. There it is, that 3-second time penalty. Other people too around him have got penalties. Downwards, Matisse and Sem swap places for P8 and P9 in the Kickstarter and the Ferrari. Remember, Sem went for a super long stint on the mini-car power tyre in the 9th place there, but he's been swapped by the guys on newer tyres going for that second stint. What's happened there? What on earth has happened there? The Kickstarter has got no nose, literally. As we watch Tony on the back, sorry, I was just starstruck to what I saw there with the Kickstarter of Lucas in P10 running with no nose. Maybe Nico could find himself inside the top 10, depending how many penalties those guys ahead of him got. 12 seconds, yeah, 13 seconds, and 3 and 3 for Matisse and Sam. Lap 27 out of 36, and Tony once again right behind Azum. He overtakes him now, goes up into P3, but Evanai is struggling to get himself a DRS range of the Williams of Garochi there for Azum in P4, sorry. The lag is bugging me out, so I apologize about that one again. But Chiquita's getting that gap stable towards 5.7 seconds there, so quite a stable gap. As Schumacher is slowing down in the Ferrari. I think he's a lap down, get out of the way for people, so I think he's okay. I don't think he has any problems as the Ferrari driver. Did pick up a puncher, didn't he? As the Kick Sabers there swap place for P8 and P9, with Lucas having no nose attached to that car. The gap's gone down to 7.7, so there's more time being taken out of Chiquita's advantage. Chiquita may be under pressure towards the Grand Prix, with the pack behind him, including Tony Richer, Azum, Evanai and Garochi catching him up with Maxime on the tail too. So Chiquita has got to watch over his shoulders. The guys behind are gaining a rate of knots as well, but also these guys are in a battle with themselves as well. So it's going to be a tasty battle between these guys in fights for a podium in the Grand Prix. And here we go on the main straight once again with Tony on the back. Sorry, with A's on the back of Tony as we head down the main straight in towards turn 1, but he overtakes him well before the first corner and he goes back up into P3, does Mercedes, and Schumacher has retired from this race. He is out on the Grand Prix, unfortunately, after that puncher he sustained on the first in the mini-car power tyres. Went too long and paid the price for that one too. So the gap is 7.4 now, so I wonder if these guys maybe working together. I don't think they're working together, obviously, but try to catch Chiquita. There may be a chance for P2, but has he got this covered? The gap's gone down to 7 seconds. It was 11 seconds a few laps ago, so they're taking marginal amount of time out of him, and they maybe could catch him later in the Grand Prix towards the end as well. So let's see if that does happen. Chiquita's got to push that crate to keep that gap. He's currently in the stadium session, is the RP driver. Also, another driver who's opted for that one-stop strategy and he's one of the few people at Oscar to go for that muscle strategy. It has paid out so far, but will it pay out later on the Grand Prix? Or will the guys behind him catch him and knock him off the podium with their better tyre offset? The guys behind have done a two-stroke strategy, the guys ahead have done a one-stroke strategy, and it's paid dividends so for Oscar at least. But Chiquita, he's just on the fence for the time being, as both Williams there swap places, as Gucci gone again. It's brilliant, really. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's really starting to annoy me. This is because I've never experienced anything like this before, never. So I really do apologise about this. It's really started to annoy me. I don't know why it's happening right now. Never experienced anything like it before. It's just so frustrating when you're trying to do something, but unfortunately, it just ruins it. I have no idea why. I really hope it does get sorted out before tomorrow, because I have another stream tomorrow, so it best get itself sorted out. So back for the third or fourth time. And let's see what the gap is. The gap is 3.8 seconds, so they caught him. Or they're catching him. But Chiquita there, maybe under pressure later in the Grand Prix, because they caught him by like, what? The last time I saw it was like 6 seconds. Now it's 3.5, so Chiquita's under massive pressure very soon from Tony behind. And he's bringing the Mercedes with him, and also the Williams on Gucci. What's happened to Evanai? Evanai has dropped backwards into P7 there. I'm sorry I missed that, but looks like the Williams is struggling just for pace there, it seems, for Evanai in P7. Not able to contend with the guys ahead of him. His Williams teammates checked out, and so has Maxime on the old hard compound tyres. He's also checked out too, so looks like Evanai doesn't have the pace, does the young Norwegian. His Norwegian compatriot of Oscar, however, is in first place and enjoying no company around him at all. I don't think the likes of Tony, Azam and Garachi will catch him, but I can't see the same for Chiquita in second place, because he will be under threat soon if the pace keeps going like it is. They catch him like a freight train. Are the guys behind? The gap is 2.6 seconds, and Chiquita will find himself with that pack right behind him anytime soon. And I think he made a mistake. No, he didn't. Maybe that's just like there. But I really hope that for the last 5 laps, my internet can withstand it. The internet works fine on the phone, etc., or anywhere else, on the laptop too, so I'm not quite sure why it's not working here. Maybe I need to use the Ethernet cable more. But the gap is 2.2 seconds there between Tony and Chiquita. And Tony's situation as well. I don't think Tony can get a podium despite his hard work and good pace. It's just that really cost him as well in the first part of the Grand Prix. That penalty carried the weight on his shoulders for the whole race, and I don't think the guys around will pick up podiums, especially now, penalties, especially now. So, unfortunately for Tony there, that was self-inflicted by pushing too hard in the opening stint of the Grand Prix and exceeded track limits. And Hayes was right behind too. 4 laps left to go in this race, and Tony is only about 2 seconds behind Chiquita in second place. They expect a battle going on soon between Chiquita and Tony for second and third place. And also Azam as well in P4. Looks like Garachi, the 2 Williams drivers, have just disappeared and faded a bit from this race. They were up there in the initial phase of this Grand Prix in that DRS train, but it looks like they've separated themselves now and disappeared a bit, especially Evanai as well in P7. The pole sitter, who was leading the Grand Prix in the first stint, has dropped down into P7, so it's been a shocker race, unfortunately, as he picks up a penalty in the race too to add to his woes and misery. let me stay in this session for the next 4 laps of the Grand Prix. Just please don't lag out, I beg. Because we're about to see an important battle going on for P2, because Chiquito, unfortunately, has been caught up by Tony and the Mercedes driver Amazer with P4. So, we're going to have a change in the field here. And Chiquita, unfortunately, with rudderboard, there'll be no way that he can defend against the likes of Tony and Azer. With the better tyre compound, the better hard compounds, against the old hard compound tyres, just absolutely no way he can keep those two at bay. I think Tony and Azer will fly past. Maybe Tony, the gap's like not there yet for Tony. And the gap between Tony and Gavocci is about 2.67. I don't think Tony will get a podium, but here he goes on the RP driver up towards turn 4. He goes, and he goes up into P2. It's a Haas 1-2 for the time being. The gap is 4.8 between himself and Oscar, but obviously he won't catch Oscar. And if he does, there'll be a Haas 1-2 anyway. He won't fight him too hard anyways because they're teammates and fighting for the Constructors' Championship. They're currently first in Shizu in a championship. It would have been nice to have a 1-2 here in Mexico, but unfortunately Tony just overstepped the boundaries a little bit. And he's broken the DRS against Chiquita too. So this is very important for Azer to get past right now. He can't afford to get stuck behind him, because if he gets stuck behind the RP driver, that will allow Tony to pull away and break away. That could be the signal that Tony needs to break away. Oh, Tony! Tony has got a 3-second penalty, which means it's a 6-second penalty. Look how much the RP driver is holding up Azer. The Mercedes driver just stuck in the worst possible place, and he finally gets past him. He puts him up into P3, but Tony unfortunately does have a 6-second penalty, and that'll mean Chiquita could be back at the podium. It depends though if the Williams of Gavocci in P5 will overtake the Mercedes driver. There are the penalty situation for you. Tony has got a 6-second unfortunately, so that has cost him dearly by just overstepped the mark a bit too much in the Grand Prix. Just transgression after transgression in this race. He's almost broken DRS against Mercedes driver there, but it won't matter because he will definitely not build up a 6-second gap over the rest of the guys ahead to get a podium. Now it's down to see who gets the final spot at the podium between Chiquita and the Williams, between P4 and P5. Do you know what? Tony's only 3 seconds away from his teammate, so he might catch him, but obviously that won't matter. And let's say if Tony and Azer does catch Oscar, then Tony just needs to defend against the Mercedes driver, so Oscar can get the win. It's coming down to fire margins, but unfortunately for some people, penalties has got in the way for them. We are on the penultimate lap of the race here at the Mexican Grand Prix. It's been a good race so far, despite all the internet connection issues. And I'll apologise for the 10th time. I'm very sorry about it. I know you guys have been so frustrated, same as me as well. So you can't imagine how I must be feeling about it. But at least we don't give up. Keep trying, get back in the lobby, and get on with it. But the battle for P3 is relatively on in terms of penalties, because we know Tony's got a 6-second penalty. So let's see which one of these two will get a podium. But I dare say Gavocci will definitely get a podium, because there's no way Chiquita with 20-lap old hardcore powered tyres can defend against this. It should be easy pickings for the Williams. Absolutely no problems there. I can't see the Alpine defending against this, unfortunately for him. He's done a solid job, a valiant effort to the Warsaw strategy, but unfortunately have to pay the price towards the Grand Prix with tyres degrading. Tony's 1.9 seconds behind his teammate, and he's bringing along Mercedes too, but luckily for Oscar, the next lap is the last lap, so he won't have to worry about it. This is the most important part of this race now, the battle for the net P3 with Tony's penalties towards the Grand Prix. Do you know what? The gap is about 4 seconds between Chiquita and Tony, so watch out for that. That could be something to watch out for. But here we go, out of the final 2 corners, and the Williams driver should have the DRS and the battery and the better tyres to get past the Alpine. And I think Chiquita, I'm afraid, unfortunately has been relegated off the podium. And here comes the Williams with the DRS wide open. He puts himself up into P4, which should be a P3 towards the end of this race. Evan I has dropped back significantly, and now Lucas is about to pounce on him. Here we go. The Kickstarter goes alongside, and he puts himself up into P7 ahead of the Williams driver, but back towards the front. In fact, let's go back to this. Another Lucas gets past ahead of the Williams. But look at this. Tony caught his teammate on the last lap, but unfortunately he does have a 6-second time penalty, so it's great pace, good time management from Oscar, but formidable pace from Tony Richet in second place. And Hayes was caught up as well in the Mercedes. Remember, got stuck behind a few cars. And if it wasn't for that, what could it have been for him? Challenging Oscar. Here we go then. Oscar, Tony and Hayes are the top three all in your picture. And the fireworks go off in the background to celebrate Oscar's win. It's been a fantastic drive for Oscar. Time management has been absolutely key in this Grand Prix to win it. And here he is, towards the final corner he goes. It's Oscar, the Norwegian, who comes out top and wins the Mexican Grand Prix. Azum in second place, but the Williams will get the final spot on the podium. Garocci's up into P3 in the Williams, and Tony falls backwards into fourth place. Chiquita survives in P5 because Maxime was right behind him too. There he was in the Red Bull. And Evanai finishes in P7 ahead of Nico, who spun early in the race too. And Matisse finishes in P9 ahead of Lucas. Steve gets a 10 seconds penalty, and Sem will finish in P12 ahead of Bompia, who had a massive struggle, and Paulos in P14. That's the end of the Mexican Grand Prix. And once again, I do got to apologise about the internet being so shit, unfortunately. I am going to sort it out, and hopefully be all better for you as well. Thank you everybody for being so patient and tuning in despite the problems we've had in this race. I will sort it out. I'm not quite sure what the issue is because I've never had this issue. So thank you very much for being very patient. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to commentate for you guys. I know your main commentator's not here tonight, but hopefully I've done a good enough job for you guys on late notice, literally late notice. But there are your results then. It is Oscar who wins ahead of Azum in P2. The top three of Garocci finishes P3. Stayed where he finished, or stayed where he started. No, finished where he started. There we go. Tony Richet a bit too aggressive in the first in the Grand Prix, just pushing the boundaries of the track limits there, and unfortunately led to his downfall. Finished in P4. And Chiquita finished in P5 ahead on Maxime, Nico P7 ahead of Matisse, Lucas and Sem ran off the top 10. And that'll conclude the Mexican Grand Prix. Despite a laggy session. But anyways, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye for now. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you all enjoyed this race. Goodbye for now.